Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The top global story we're tracking this evening: more than 600 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces since Israel broke the Gaza ceasefire earlier this week. According to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, the death toll has increased as forces continue their airstrikes and ground assaults in the enclave. The Israeli military has also said that ground invasion of southern Gaza is underway. The troops are also pushing into the northern and central parts of Gaza. Hamas has also said it launched 3 rockets at Tel Aviv in retaliation. This is the first time the militant group fired back since the ceasefire was broken. Let me go across now to Gideon Levy, Israeli journalist and author. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Levy. Let me begin by asking you, why do you think Netanyahu ended the ceasefire earlier this week?
I mean, there's no room for speculations. The facts are talking. Netanyahu's government has to pass the budget in the coming days, and his majority was very shaky, and and he had to join Ben Gvir, one of his partners to the coalition, the most extreme one, the most fascist one. He had to join him back, to bring him back to the coalition in order to guarantee a majority. And Ben Gvir's condition was renewing the war. And now hundreds and thousands of people will pay in their lives in order to maintain the coalition of the State of Israel.
Right. Also, the defense minister said that if all hostages are not released and Hamas is not expelled from Gaza, then Israel will act with an intensity not seen before. What do you think the immediate plan is this time around?
First of all, there is no major plan. But it's very hard to imagine what can be worse than the first phase and what kind of intensity it can be more than we did in the last 18 months with almost 50,000 victims, most of them women and children. It must be emphasized. There is no plan. There is a plan to beat, to kill, to destroy, to distract, to make people starve, to make people die from diseases, to put all the people in Gaza in a horrible situation. That's the only plan for Israel. They know very well that what was not achieved in the first 17 months will not be achieved another round. Why would it be achievable now? Sorry.
Right. All right. I'd also like to ask you about Donald Trump. Right. Donald Trump has expressed his full support for this renewed Israeli offensive in Gaza. Why do you think Donald Trump is supporting Israel in this manner right now?
Why does the United States support Israel for so many decades? But this time it is crucial because the first days of Trump in power were a bit promising because he sent his envoy, and his envoy within hours convinced Prime Minister Netanyahu to implement the first phase of the ceasefire agreement. And those were very good and very promising news. But soon after, we realized that Donald Trump really couldn't care less about the fate of the Palestinians. And he practically gave a green light to Netanyahu to go wild, to do whatever he wants, without any limits, by the way, without any conditions. And those are horrible news for everyone in the world. But I wouldn't expect Donald Trump to be different. This is a statesman who has nothing to do with international law, with minorities, with justice, with human rights. Nothing of those talks to him.
Right. Mr. Levy, what I'd also like to ask you, Israel has often said that they would like to continue this offensive till the time the ability of Hamas to govern Gaza is completely eliminated and there is some other sort of authority which takes shape in Gaza. Do you feel that this goal is likely to be achieved? And the bigger goal, the goal with which the war began, was release of hostages. Do you think this particular offensive, this breakdown of the ceasefire, will lead to the hostages being released and complete control of an authority which is not Hamas?
It's really not a question of what I think. It's a matter of fact. Israel didn't release almost no hostage by putting military pressure on Hamas. Almost all the hostages who were released through diplomacy, through negotiations, and in an agreement. And that's the only way to release the left of the hostages who are still there. That's the first thing. As about the bringing the rule of Hamas to its end in Gaza, again, 17 months and Hamas is live and kicking, and politically it is still as strong as it was before. Military, it's weaker, but another 17 months will not change it. It is impossible to do so, especially when there is no alternative to Hamas. Who is going to replace Hamas? Nobody has an answer to it. But in any case, nothing will happen without the approval of Hamas. Hamas is there. We may like it, we may not like it, but it's a matter of fact.
All right, Mr. Gideon Levy, thank you so much for joining us on Global Eye, giving us your view on the very sad state of affairs in Gaza and a prolonged war that we are looking at this juncture. We're taking a short break on Global Eye, but coming up next, Russia and Ukraine have agreed to pause attacks on energy infrastructure for 30 days. A special discussion